Good afternoon and thank you for watching. I'm Jurnee Taylor. We want to get straight to our top story, the weather. Meteorologist Scott Covert is here to help us keep track of another round of severe weather. What could we see today, Scott?
You know, Jurnee, our severe weather setup today lends itself to all types of severe weather. Of course, we're most concerned with the potential of some tornadoes, but damaging winds, certainly a high likelihood, as well as the potential for some hail and even some flash flooding. Let's get straight to the latest update out of the Storm Prediction Center. This outlook includes the entire state of Arkansas under some level of risk. Of course, our eyes are drawn to southwestern Arkansas and parts of South Arkansas for the highest level 4 potential, but it is often that we see severe weather take place elsewhere in some of these level 2 or level 3 zones. So we all have to be weather aware tonight. The timeline of this likely going to be late afternoon at the absolute earliest, more likely this evening into the overnight hours. Yet some showers in parts of southern Arkansas here this afternoon. These are just that. There's showers, no lightning, no thunder. It's all a part of a warm front that's trying to lift towards the north. One severe thunderstorm warning was just issued for parts of Carroll counties. That's for some hail. These thunderstorms will be capable of that, especially the further west you go. The radar shows most of us are dry in central Arkansas right now. Some scattered showers getting ready to move to near the Pine Bluff area. Temperature wise, it's warm, 61 in Conway and Little Rock, 67 in Pine Bluff, 70 the current reading in Camden. You can clearly make out the warm front right in this general area. It's going to continue slowly but surely lifting towards the north, and it is the focal point for the severe storms that we're likely going to see later this evening. Temperatures likely warm to around 66 this afternoon. In addition to severe weather, our ground is really saturated. We've seen a lot of rain over the last week or so. We had a decent downpour yesterday with additional inches of rain in the forecast for tonight through tomorrow morning. Flash flooding will remain a concern. Good news is once we get past round 2 and past the flash flooding, we actually have a really nice weekend. I'm going to break it all down for you hour by hour coming right up.
Thanks, Scott. Well, now is a great time to make sure you've got the THV 11 app downloaded on your phone. That way you can always get severe weather alerts and updates. You can also watch live weather even if you lose power. And as we get ready for another round of storms, some communities are still dealing with last night's severe weather. People in Rison woke up to damage, and that's where we find THV 11's Frederick Price. Frederick, a long night for a lot of people there. What are you seeing? Looks like we may be dealing with some technical difficulties. If we can bring Frederick back to you guys, we will be sure to get that to you all. Well, moving on, now at noon, Summit Utilities facing a lawsuit this afternoon over its recent hike in natural gas prices. According to the lawsuit, the defendant is arguing that the increase that has been the subject of debates at city board meetings across central Arkansas is price gouging. They are asking a judge to order Summit to pay back their customers. You can stay with THV 11 and THV11.com for more on this developing story. In less than an hour, the Arkansas Learns Act could clear another hurdle in its journey to become law. The bill will likely be discussed and voted on in the full House today. It took 2 days to get to this point after nearly 100 people signed up to speak on the act. Testimony lasted 10 hours on Tuesday, going through questions, concerns, and support coming from legislators and the public. Those questions continued yesterday all the way up until it was passed around 3:30.
I believe this is a compromise bill. I think that there are things that we can take back to teachers, we can take back to students, we can take back to our parents, we can take back to our administrators. And albeit it's not the best bill, it is the best bill for our students.
We are constitutionally bound to provide an adequate and equitable education to all Arkansas students. This bill sets us up for future lawsuits for failure to do that.
Now the House is set to convene at 1. If the Arkansas Learns Act passes there, it will make one more pass through the Senate for an amendment that was introduced by Representative Keith Brooks. After that, it heads to the governor's desk to be signed into law, which lawmakers think could happen by next week. You can learn more about the bill and find any updates on our website at THV11.com. In other news, foreign ministers from around the world are in India for a meeting of the G20 group. The gathering allowed for a very rare face-to-face discussion between Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, where Blinken urged Russia to end its war with Ukraine. It was the first meeting between the two since the invasion last year. As a sign of just how far relations between Russia and the U.S. have declined, last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Russia would be withdrawing from the last nuclear arms treaty between the two countries. Blinken also met with China's foreign minister, and he reiterated that China should not provide weapons or support to Russia for its war efforts. Now to an alarming situation at a Pennsylvania airport where TSA workers found what looked like explosive in a suitcase. A man allegedly dropped off a bag at Lehigh Valley International Airport in Allentown on Monday. The flight was bound for Florida, but he never got on it. 40-year-old Mark Muffley is now in custody. Officials say he ran when security called his name and was later arrested at home. He's been charged with possessing an explosive in an airport and attempting to place an explosive on an aircraft. The double murder trial of disgraced attorney Alex Murdaugh is almost over. Prosecutors made their closing arguments yesterday, and the defense is doing the same today. The jury will then decide if he is guilty of killing his wife and son in June of 2021. He testified under oath that he did not do it. Stay with THV11 and THV11.com for the very latest. And now to that live coverage as we're getting ready for another round of storms. Some communities are still dealing with last night's severe weather. People in Rison woke up to damage. And that's when we now have Frederick Price. Frederick, a long night for a lot of people there. What are you seeing right now?
Hey, Jurnee. Well, the good news in this is that no one was hurt after those storms hit Cleveland County, but the damage is noticeable. You can see this mangled metal over here, some corrugated metal, some insulation from a roof, and even some concrete. We talked to a business owner that was right next door. He told us that this actually came from 3 buildings down. It flew over here and it rested here. We talked to the mayor earlier today, and he says a lot of this damage is really concentrated here in the downtown area. The north part of the town and the south part of the town, they are okay. But he did report that there was one gentleman that had a tree that fell on his home. And we also know that there was a woman, apparently she was an elementary teacher here in Rison. The tree fell on her home and her car. We also talked to another gentleman that was trapped in his truck. He was underneath this metal that I'm standing in, and he was going to the grocery store with a friend. When he got caught in those storms, he pulled over, and that's when all of this mangled mess hit his car. Here's what he had to say.
Caught me up under it. Me and my dog slid us up in here, and all of a sudden it just fell on top of us. In 2 seconds it was over.
Fortunately, he is okay this afternoon. The city and the Arkansas Emergency Management, they're going to be working together trying to assess the damage and help people who need that assistance. As far as electricity goes, here in Cleveland County, less than 100 people are without power. In a neighboring county, Drew County, less than 100 people are without power there. So certainly those electricity crews are working hard to restore power. That is the latest here in Rison. We're going to send things to Scott Covert. Scott?
Certainly in round 1 was impactful, and now as we prepare for round 2, I've got brand new data coming into the Weather Center. We're going to go over it in detail coming right up.